Rock Metal Podcast, episode 493 with Perfect Parachute Picture. Here we go, Rock Metal Nation, what is up? This is John from the Rock Metal Podcast. I samply returned with Cigarettes by Perfect Parachute Picture, who I've got on the show with me right now. They've got a new album called No Modern Desire, which is available, and right now I'm being joined by the boys, Edward and Kyle, to share some stories about the music and share more info about what the dynamic duo has got going on. So, boys, Triple P, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us.
Hey.
Absolutely. Great to have you guys on. It's not often that we see the duo thing and it being done so well. And as you mentioned in the pre-roll, you're starting to see the, what do you call that? The feedback loop. You're starting to see the growth in the audience. You're starting to see the reaction from people. So
yeah, it's definitely been great to see. I mean, we've been working as this band now for like 7 years. And over the sort of last year, we started to really sort of make a name for ourselves. And it's just great to get positive feedback, you know. We take everything on board, even negative, because if someone's got something wrong, then chances are that we need to look into that. But yeah, it's just been great to have such a positive vibe over these sort of last few months, especially.
It does definitely feel like we're sort of getting towards the crest of a wave with building up new fan base and the gigs that we're being offered and sort of the shows that we're playing. There's just a lot more reception to our stuff at the moment, and it's just really great to see. It really makes you feel quite proud for what you've created, and now people are just getting on board, and it's just really great to see.
Mm-hmm. I agree. So welcome to the show, boys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Let's go. Speaking of being stressed out, let's go listen back to that track, Cigarettes.
Cigarettes put out on my skin to show the friends inside my head some nicotine. Cigarettes put out on my tongue to show the friends inside my head what I have done. Take my hand and I will show you, I'll go with you. All these people that I met but show their point of view, and I'll protect us on our way to the top, and I'll show you someone that doesn't stop. All these eyes on a high through the ecstasy, showing each other how much they really mean to be, till we wake up and we're feeling low. And do we really know which way to go? Cigarettes put out on my skin to show the friends inside my head some nicotine. Cigarettes put out on my tongue to show the friends inside my head what I have done. Keep my heart, I will throw you, I'll run from you. All the things I had will go along with me too. Remembering all that you gave to me, turn me into the man I always wanted to be. All these eyes on a high through the ecstasy, showing each other how much they really mean to be, until we wake up and we're feeling low. And do we really know which way to go? Cigarettes put out on my skin to show the friends inside my head some nicotine. Cigarettes put out on my tongue to show the friends inside my head what I have done.
right, coming back from Cigarettes, which is the lead single off of the album, correct?
Well, no. The Hold is the lead single. It's just
Cigarettes was the first song that we released. The first single from the album tracks that we released. We released that at the end of June. Yeah, the end of June. And then we went on to release another track called Holy Rain, and we released The Hold, which is the lead single from the album. We released that last Friday, and obviously the album comes out tomorrow, which is Friday the
13th.
Friday the 13th.
Bong, bong, bong.
I know. Is it an omen? I don't know.
We don't know. Okay. Well, as embarrassing as that was, that's also why I asked that question. This is the lead single, right? You're like, no, it's not, John. You should really go back to doing your research. You're right. You're absolutely correct. I think I need another cigarette after that one. But, key question, what is this track about?
So, it's not actually about cigarettes, which might surprise some folk, but it's sort of more a meaning past that of like cigarettes being put out on my skin and out on my tongue is kind of like when people are saying that you can't do something or that you shouldn't do something, and it's kind of like saying, well, no, I'm going to do that because that's what I want to do. Yeah,
I agree. It's probably saying a track of defiance is a little bit too strong, but it's a song against people telling you what you can't do and what you should be doing as opposed to what you want to do. And everything is sort of drawn back to us as a band and past experiences, be that like subtle messages in our tracks or sort of the way that we write songs, be that in the minor key, sort of downbeat or upbeat. So, yeah, I think Cigarettes is about sort of defying the odds of playing in a band and keeping stuff going, keeping the hype going. And, yeah, it's just sort of what we're about, really.
Yeah, I was going to mention if you guys have been at it for 7 years, and in the last year you're starting to really see something that I chat with bands about a lot, because I also do coaching with some bands, is it's an exponential growth curve. And if you look at an exponential growth curve and you map it out for a band, which is about 10 years, you see that for about the first 7 years, it looks like nothing is happening. And then all of a sudden, the last, 2 years or so is where the explosion is. So I imagine that this song probably came from a lot of frustration of not only what in the world are we doing, but having probably some other people knocking on your proverbial door and saying, it's probably time that you stop being a band.
Yeah, especially with the age that we are. I mean, we're both 25 years old, and we're kind of getting to that age now where friends are sort of getting married, having kids, settling down, getting houses and that kind of thing. And I think a lot of people sort of look at you in a band, especially in sort of like a smaller band, that we were sort of like nobodies beforehand, and they kind of go, why are you still doing this? And I don't think they kind of realize the sort of passion that it takes to keep it alive and just keep going with it, and especially as well, sort of in this, over the last 7 years, it's been a lot about sort of finding our sound and sort of building on that as well, and working really hard on that.
I think as well, like with finding your sound and stuff, we've been doing that, but also it's about sort of finding where we want to go with the message that we want to put out for our music. And I think putting out sort of an inspirational thing about keeping going no matter what setbacks you've had in life. And I think, like you said before, we are at that point where people are starting to take notice, and it feels like the work that we've put in over the past 7 years is starting to pay off.
Fantastic. Now, for Rock Nation who dug the track Cigarettes, so we're super excited to know there is a music video that accompanies the track. So if you want to check it out, you can go to today's show notes at www.therockmetalpodcast.ca. Now let's go and Great news, we're now on Patreon. For $1 a month, you can help grow the Rock Metal Podcast directly. Head over to patreon.com/The Rock Metal Podcast for more information. That's patreon.com/The Rock Metal Podcast for more information.
Thank you.
I Come Back from the Hold, which, as we discussed, is the actual lead single off of the album. Now, my key question is, why was this track the lead single? Like, what was it about this track that told you guys this one's got to be it first?
I feel that the Hold sort of had everything in it to sort of introduce you into the album, and also, if you'd not heard of us before, introduce you into who we are and what we sound like. I think it's got elements of every part of us in there, and that's why it makes such a great opening track and lead single for the album.
Yeah, definitely, I agree. I think sound-wise, musically, it's got everything in there, and sort of this track, for us personally, it is, again, a track of keeping moving forward, keeping doing what you love, and it's sort of, if it's got a message, the message is, this is us, this is what we've been doing, this is how we are, how we're feeling, and welcome to the album sort of feel vibe that we sort of took from it anyway.
Okay, perfect. Now, for Rock Metal Nation, the track The Hold, we'll be super excited to know that there is a music video that accompanies the track. You can go and check it out by going to today's show notes at www.therockmetalpodcast.ca. And Rock Metal Nation, if you loved the two tracks, Cigarettes and The Hold, we'll be super excited to know that there is a full album called No Modern Desire. Now, a couple things I picked up on, guys, was in the beginning, in the pre-roll, you mentioned No Modern Desire. It's basically about life behind the phone. And I can definitely think of a few people who they're just lost somewhere. And I don't even know that there's that much going on a phone, but somehow there is for some people.
Yeah. I watched a lecture actually recently about people are spending literally 9 hours a day on the internet, on the phone, and it destroys relationships, it destroys friendships, and all you're doing is you are living your life in the Matrix kind of thing, and people aren't going out having engaging conversations, people aren't doing stuff like going for a walk, and it's just really sad, I think. And the album, even the album artwork, we've got an old guy sat on a bench with a younger lady walking down the path facing a phone. The old guy's sat out looking outwards, and that sort of, you can see that gap between the generations and where we're going.
It was really the perfect photo when we came across it. There's a guy called Peter Spare, and it's one of his photos that he took in Barcelona. And when we kind of like stumbled across his work, we knew straight away that it would fit the theme of the album.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Now, so Rock Metal Nation, if you're on your phone right now, that's okay. As long as you're listening, to the...
Keep listening to your phone now.
Exactly. As long as you're listening to Perfect Parachute Picture and the Rock Metal Podcast, and even if both at the same time, then you can definitely do that. Now, something that you mentioned, guys, was The Hold was welcome to the album. So my big question then is, the two tracks that we listened to today, Cigarettes and The Hold, are they indicative of what we should expect on No Modern Desire?
No, I think there's a lot of poppy, catchy, sing-along tracks that are less about that and more about different themes. And it's not just an all-out attack on your senses in terms of heavy, hard-hitting drums and riffy music. Like, we are a riffy, rocky band, but if you step back and listen to the melody, the vocal melody, it's very poppy. There's a lot of falsetto harmonies, and we put little samples in there. And yeah, I think it's got everything in terms of what you want from a punky, grungy, noisy rock band, but also it has got different directions that we both take inspiration from, really.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Now, the next logical question on Rock Metal Nation's mind is, how do we stay in touch with everything Triple P on the World Wide Web?
So we're on all the usuals. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. And we are also on, we've got his own website, which is perfectparachutepicture.com.
Perfect. All right. Well, boys, unless there's anything else you wanted to throw out there, I just wanted to thank you for coming on to the Rock Metal Podcast and sharing Perfect Parachute Picture with Rock Metal Nation.
Thank you very much, guys. Keep supporting.
Rock Metal Nation. Hopefully just found your new favorite band in Perfect Parachute Picture. Big thanks again to them for coming on and sharing their music with us. Make sure to head over to www.therockmetalpodcast.ca to get all the information on the show you just heard today. And until then, rock on, Rock Metal Nation.
Rock on, Rock Metal Nation.